The stars trembled as the Corvanian armada tore through hyperspace, their massive fleet casting shadows across entire solar systems. For 3,000 years, the Corvanians had carved their empire through blood and conquest, crushing civilizations beneath their iron fist. Their reputation preceded them like a plague, whispered in hushed tones across 1,000 worlds. No species had ever successfully resisted their might, and today would be no different. Captain Jenna Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of Earth's primary defense station, her dark eyes scanning the star-filled horizon. At 32, she had already earned her reputation as one of Earth's most brilliant tactical minds, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. The readings on her datapad showed energy signatures unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. "Jenna, you need to see this," called Zara Okafor from the communications console. The tall, elegant woman's voice carried a hint of concern that made Jenna's heart skip a beat. They had been dancing around their feelings for months, but with an alien invasion looming, personal matters seemed trivial. Dr. Benjamin Cross, a lanky man with prematurely gray hair, looked up from his analysis station. "The energy patterns are off the charts. Whatever's coming, it's massive. The gravitational distortions alone suggest a fleet of at least 10,000 vessels." Lieutenant Jake Morrison, Jenna's oldest friend and most trusted pilot, whistled low. 10,000? That's impossible. No civilization could maintain a fleet that size. "The Corvanians can," Jenna replied grimly. She had studied every piece of intelligence about their enemies, learning their tactics, understanding their psychology. The Corvanians were proud warriors who valued strength above all else. They saw other species as inferior, worthy only of conquest or extinction. Light years away, Fleet Commander Zethros stood in the command chamber of his flagship, the Shadowbane. His reptilian features were carved from centuries of warfare, scars crisscrossing his scaled face like a map of victories. The Corvanian commander was 8 feet tall, his muscular frame encased in ceremonial armor that gleamed with the blood-red insignia of his rank. "Status report," Zethros commanded, his voice a deep rumble that resonated through the bridge. "My lord, we are approaching the target system. Our scouts report the third planet shows signs of primitive civilization. They call themselves humans." The subordinate officer's tone carried barely concealed contempt. Zethros examined the tactical display showing Earth's position. Humans, another weak species clinging to a single world. Their technology appears rudimentary, their defenses laughable. This will be over within hours. The Corvanian Empire had conquered worlds with plasma storms for weather, planets defended by energy beings, civilizations that could manipulate time itself. Earth, with its simple chemical rockets and basic nuclear weapons, seemed almost insulting in its weakness. "Prepare the invasion formation," Zethros ordered. "We will demonstrate the price of existing in Corvanian space." Back on Earth, alarms began screaming across every military installation on the planet. Jenna felt Zara's hand briefly touch hers, a moment of comfort before the storm. "Whatever happens," Zara whispered, "I want you to know that I love you." Jenna squeezed her hand. "Save it for after we win. We're going to need something to celebrate." Dr. Cross was frantically analyzing the incoming data. "They're massive, Jenna. Each of their battleships is the size of a city. The energy output from their engines alone could power our entire planet for years." "Numbers?" Jenna asked, her tactical mind already working through scenarios. 12,000 vessels confirmed, with more still emerging from hyperspace. Battleships, cruisers, fighters, support craft. It's the largest military force in recorded galactic history. Jake shook his head in disbelief. "How do we fight something like that? Our entire fleet is maybe 300 ships, and most of those are converted civilian vessels." Jenna smiled, but there was something cold in her expression. "We don't fight them, Jake. We let them think they're winning until it's too late." The Corvanian fleet dropped out of hyperspace with a display of power that lit up Earth's night sky. Thousands upon thousands of alien vessels materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with weapon systems that could crack continents. The sight should have inspired terror, but Jenna felt only anticipation. Commander Zethros surveyed his fleet with satisfaction. The humans had detected their arrival, of course. Primitive scanning systems were sending frantic signals across their communications networks. He could almost taste their fear. "Begin preliminary bombardment of their military installations," he commanded. "Show them the futility of resistance." The first wave of Corvanian weapons fire streaked toward Earth's surface, energy beams capable of melting mountains. But as the attacks reached Earth's atmosphere, something strange happened. The energy dissipated, absorbed by an intricate network of atmospheric processors that had been hidden in Earth's upper atmosphere for decades. "What?" Zethros snarled. "Report. My lord, our weapons are having no effect. The planet appears to have some form of defensive grid, but our sensors show no evidence of advanced technology." On Earth's command station, Jenna watched the confused reports flooding in from the alien fleet. Phase 1 complete. They've just learned that we're not as defenseless as we appear. Dr. Cross was monitoring the alien communications. They're confused but not concerned yet. Their commander is ordering a more intensive bombardment. Perfect, Jenna replied. Zara, send the signal to all stations. Begin Phase 2. Across Earth's surface, installations that had appeared to be simple research facilities suddenly came online. Massive energy projectors, hidden beneath layers of camouflage and misdirection, began targeting the Corvanian fleet. But these weren't weapons in any conventional sense. The Corvanian ships suddenly found their systems experiencing strange malfunctions. Navigation computers began showing impossible readings. Weapon systems started firing at random intervals. Communications became filled with static and interference. "What is happening to my fleet?" Zethros roared. "Unknown, my lord. All ships are reporting system failures, but our diagnostic scans show no external interference. It's as if the technology itself is rebelling against us." What the Corvanians didn't understand was that humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. Earth scientists had discovered that Corvanian technology, for all its advancement, relied on specific quantum frequencies. By manipulating these frequencies through carefully placed generators, humans could cause catastrophic failures in alien systems. But the real genius of Earth's defense wasn't technological, it was psychological. Humans had studied Corvanian psychology extensively, learning that the warrior race's greatest weakness was their own arrogance. They expected inferior species to cower before their might, never anticipating sophisticated resistance. Jake's voice crackled over the communications system from his fighter. "Jenna, you should see this from up here. Their formation is falling apart. Ships are drifting out of position, some are even firing on each other." "That's impossible," Dr. Cross muttered. Then his eyes widened with understanding. "Unless... Jenna, are we using their own communication systems against them?" "Among other things," she replied with a grin. "When you've studied your enemy for as long as we have, you learn all their weaknesses." Commander Zethros watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet began to disintegrate around him. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were now helpless, their crews trapped aboard vessels that no longer obeyed their commands. The humans weren't just defending themselves, they were systematically dismantling the most powerful military force in the galaxy. "Send a message to all ships," he commanded desperately. "Full retreat, abandon the invasion." But when his communications officer tried to send the order, nothing happened. Earth's interference had grown so sophisticated that the Corvanians could no longer coordinate their own forces. Jenna stood watching the chaos above, Zara's arm around her waist. "You know," Zara said softly, "when this is over, I'm going to kiss you like the galaxy depends on it." "When this is over," Jenna replied, "we're going to have a galaxy to explore together." The mighty Corvanian armada, terror of 1,000 worlds, found itself trapped in Earth's orbit by creatures they had dismissed as primitive. But this was only the beginning of humanity's revelation. The chaos above Earth had reached a crescendo that defied belief. What had begun as the most coordinated military invasion in galactic history had devolved into a nightmare of confusion and terror. The once mighty Corvanian armada now resembled a swarm of confused insects, their ship spinning helplessly in the void as their technology betrayed them at every turn. Admiral Victoria Santos materialized on the command deck via hologram, her weathered face bearing the satisfied expression of a chess master delivering checkmate. At 65, she had dedicated her entire life to this moment, preparing Earth's defenses for an invasion that most believed would never come. "Status report, Captain Rodriguez," she commanded, though her tone carried pride rather than urgency. Jenna straightened, her arm still around Zara's waist. The past few hours had stripped away any pretense between them. When facing the end of the world, love became the only thing that truly mattered. "Admiral, the Corvanian fleet is completely compromised. Their command structure has collapsed and approximately 30% of their vessels are now drifting powerless." "Excellent. And our casualties?" "Zero, ma'am. Not a single human life lost." Admiral Santos nodded slowly. "Then it's time to show them what humanity is truly capable of. Initiate Project Prometheus." Dr. Cross looked up from his monitoring station, his face pale with excitement and terror. "Admiral, are you certain? Once we reveal Prometheus, there's no going back. The entire galaxy will know what we've been hiding." "Benjamin," the Admiral replied softly. "The galaxy was going to learn eventually. Better they learn while we're dictating the terms." High above Earth's surface, Commander Zethros clung to his command chair as the Shadowbane shuddered around him. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in blood-red illumination, and the acrid smell of burning circuits filled the air. His elite crew, warriors who had never known defeat, now looked to him with fear in their eyes. "My lord," his tactical officer reported, voice trembling. "We've lost contact with 60% of the fleet. The remaining ships are reporting total system failures. Whatever the humans are doing, it's unlike any technology we've encountered." Zethros' reptilian features twisted with fury and confusion. "Impossible. These creatures barely understand nuclear fusion. How can they be defeating the combined might of the Corvanian Empire?" What Zethros didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for over a century. When Earth's first deep space probes had detected signs of the Corvanian Empire, a secret council had been formed. The greatest minds of every nation had worked together, pooling resources and knowledge to create a defense that would be invisible until activated. The key had been understanding Corvanian psychology. They were proud warriors who believed absolutely in their own superiority. They would never expect a primitive species to possess advanced technology, so humanity had hidden their true capabilities beneath layers of misdirection and careful theater. Lieutenant Jake Morrison's voice crackled through the communication system from his stealth fighter. "Jenna, you need to see this. The big ships are starting to panic. Some are trying to ram each other to break free from whatever's holding them." Zara squeezed Jenna's hand. "Is it wrong that I'm enjoying watching them tear themselves apart?" "After what they've done to other civilizations?" Jenna replied grimly. "Not at all. The truth behind Earth's defense was elegant in its simplicity. Humanity had discovered that Corvanian technology operated on specific quantum frequencies that could be disrupted by carefully calibrated interference patterns. Hidden installations across Earth's surface were broadcasting these patterns, causing cascading failures throughout the alien fleet. But the quantum disruption was only the beginning. Earth's hackers, working from intelligence gathered by deep space reconnaissance, had infiltrated the Corvanian communication networks months before the invasion. Every order sent between ships was being intercepted, modified, and redirected. The Corvanians weren't just losing control of their technology, they were being systematically manipulated by their own communication systems. Dr. Cross monitoring his readings with growing amazement. "The psychological impact is exceeding all projections. Their entire command structure is based on absolute hierarchy. When communications break down, they literally don't know how to function. That's what happens when you build an entire civilization on conquest," Admiral Santos observed. "You forget how to adapt when you're not winning." On the bridge of the Shadowbane, panic was setting in. Zethros watched in horror as his fleet commanders reported increasingly impossible situations. Ships were firing on their own escorts. Navigation systems were directing vessels into collision courses, Some ships were simply vanishing from sensors entirely, only to reappear hours later in completely different locations. "My lord," his communications officer called out desperately, "I'm receiving a transmission from the human planet. It's addressing you specifically." "Put it through," Zethros snarled. The bridge's main screen flickered to life, revealing Captain Jenna Rodriguez, standing calmly in what appeared to be a modest command center. Her demeanor was relaxed, almost casual, as if she were discussing the weather rather than the destruction of the galaxy's most feared military force. "Commander Zethros," she began, her voice carrying across the void with crystal clarity. "I am Captain Jenna Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. I believe we need to talk." "You," Zethros roared. "What sorcery is this? How are you doing this? To my fleet?" Jenna smiled, and there was something terrifying in that simple expression. "No sorcery, Commander, just human ingenuity. You see, we've been expecting you for quite some time." Behind her, Zara appeared on screen, her hand resting possessively on Jenna's shoulder. The gesture was subtle but unmistakable, a claim of love even in the face of galactic war. "Expecting us?"Zethros's voice cracked. "That's impossible. Your species has barely achieved interplanetary travel." "That's what we wanted you to think," Jenna replied. "The truth is, humanity has been exploring the galaxy for decades. We know about your empire, your conquests, your plans for Earth. We've been preparing." Dr. Cross stepped into view, his scholarly appearance contrasting sharply with the chaos surrounding them. "Commander, your technology is impressive, but it has a fatal flaw. It's too uniform, too standardized. When you conquer a civilization, you impose your systems on them. Over time, your entire empire operates on the same frequencies, uses the same protocols. That uniformity made you predictable." "And predictable enemies," Zara added with a cold smile, "are easily defeated." Admiral Santos's hologram materialized beside the group. "Commander Zethros, you have approximately 15 minutes before your life support systems fail completely. I suggest you listen carefully to our terms." The Corvanian commander felt his world crumbling around him. His mighty fleet, the terror of 1,000 worlds, was being systematically dismantled by creatures he had dismissed as primitives. "Terms? Unconditional withdrawal from this system," Jenna stated firmly. "You will broadcast a message to your empire explaining that Earth is under human protection. Any future incursions will be met with complete annihilation. You cannot be serious. The Corvanian Empire spans half the galaxy. We have conquered civilizations that dwarf your entire planet." "Had," Admiral Santos corrected. "Past tense, Commander, because in about 10 minutes we're going to demonstrate what happens when humanity stops playing defensive." Above Earth's surface, something extraordinary began to happen. The space around the trapped Corvanian fleet started to shimmer and distort. Massive structures began materializing out of apparent nothingness. Space stations, defense platforms, and ships that dwarfed even the largest Corvanian battleships. "Behold Project Prometheus," Admiral Santos announced with quiet pride. "Humanity's true space fleet hidden in dimensional pockets around our solar system for the past 50 years. Zethros stared in absolute horror as hundreds of human vessels appeared around his fleet. These weren't the primitive ships his scouts had reported. These were sleek, deadly craft that radiated power beyond anything in the Corvanian arsenal. "How?" he whispered. Dr. Cross stepped forward. "We learned from every civilization you destroyed, Commander. Every species you conquered left behind knowledge, technology, cultural insights. While you were busy being conquerors, we were busy being students." Jake's fighter streaked past the Shadowbane's view screen, its impossible maneuvers defying conventional physics. "Jenna, the new ships are beautiful. When can I get one?" "After we finish cleaning up this mess," she replied with a laugh. The tide of battle, if it could even be called a battle, had turned completely. Corvanian ships that had seemed unstoppable hours before were now helpless, their crews trapped aboard vessels that no longer obeyed their commands. The few ships that retained partial functionality found themselves surrounded by human vessels that seemed to anticipate their every move. "Commander," Admiral Santos continued, "your empire conquered through fear and superior technology. But you made one critical mistake. You assumed that conquest was the only path to advancement. Humanity chose cooperation, learning, adaptation. We became stronger by embracing diversity rather than destroying it. Zara leaned closer to the camera, her voice soft but carrying absolute conviction. Every species you've enslaved will learn what happened here today. They'll learn that the mighty Corvanian Empire was defeated by a single world working together. How long do you think your empire will last after that? The psychological impact of her words was devastating. The Corvanian Empire was built on a foundation of perceived invincibility. Once that perception cracked, rebellions would spread like wildfire across their conquered territories. Commander Zethros felt the weight of defeat crushing down on him. His entire worldview, everything he had believed about Corvanian superiority, lay in ruins around him. What do you want from us? Nothing, Jenna replied simply. We want you to leave. We want you to spread the word that Earth is not to be touched. And we want you to remember this moment every time you consider conquering another world. The galaxy will never accept human dominance, Zethros spat, though his defiance sounded hollow even to himself. Admiral Santos laughed, the sound carrying no humor. Commander, we don't want to dominate the galaxy. We want to explore it, learn from it, share with it. That's the difference between us. You see other species as threats to be conquered. We see them as friends we haven't met yet. The space around Earth was now filled with human vessels, their numbers rivaling the original Corvanian invasion force. But these ships weren't arranged in attack formation. Instead, they formed a protective barrier around the helpless alien fleet, preventing any escape while also shielding them from harm. Your life support will be restored in 30 seconds, Dr. Cross announced. Your navigation systems will come online in 60 seconds. You have exactly 1 hour to gather your fleet and leave the system. If you're still here after that deadline, he didn't need to finish the threat. The implication was clear. As Corvanian systems began flickering back to life throughout the fleet, Zethros found himself faced with an impossible choice. He could try to continue the battle and face certain annihilation, or he could retreat and face the humiliation of defeat. Signal the fleet, he commanded quietly. Full withdrawal. My lord? You heard me. Signal withdrawal. We're leaving. On Earth's command deck, Jenna pulled Zara close and kissed her deeply, their lips meeting as humanity's greatest victory unfolded around them. When they finally broke apart, both women were smiling. So, Zara whispered, what do we do now? Jenna looked out at the stars, where human ships were already beginning to escort the retreating Corvanian fleet away from Earth. Now we explore. We learn. We make friends. Admiral Santos nodded approvingly. And if anyone else decides to threaten Earth, then they'll learn the same lesson the Corvanians just learned. Jake's voice crackled over the comm. Humanity doesn't just survive. We thrive. As the last Corvanian ship vanished into hyperspace, Earth's defenders allowed themselves a moment of celebration. They had done the impossible, defeated the galaxy's greatest military power without firing a single shot, in anger. But more than that, they had proven that intelligence, cooperation, and determination could triumph over brute force and arrogance. The age of human expansion into the galaxy was about to begin, and it would be built on principles the Corvanians could never understand: friendship, cooperation, and the unshakable belief that diversity made civilization stronger, not weaker. In the depths of space, Commander Zethros stared at the retreating image of Earth, a small blue world that had just changed the balance of power in the entire galaxy. He didn't know it yet, but his defeat would spark rebellions across the Corvanian Empire, ultimately leading to its peaceful dissolution and the birth of a new galactic alliance. An alliance that would be led not by conquerors, but by explorers, who believed that the universe was vast enough for everyone to find their place among the stars.